Hi, Renato here. I released two music albums in 2019 and 2020, mostly electronic music, and I thought I'd do some sort of presentation for them, so it will be a sort of live reaction video to my own music. I haven't listened to it in quite a while, so I thought, yeah, it might be an interesting idea. You can find them both on Bandcamp, Spotify, YouTube Music. I'll let the links in the description. So, let's go! First album, Breaking Glass and Other Mountain Adventures. Track 1. Unlock It. Okay, so here I remember I was listening to a lot of King Tabby at the time. So I was trying to do this kind of layered percussions and bass, things coming in and out via filter. And then here, this triplet based rhythm. I also was into African music and percussions. So you hear there's like an African bell. Now it switches. A lot of long tail reverb. I love this type of sounds. And here comes the reggae. Now I remember where this is going. I was trying to do kind of dubstep, UK dubstep, and stepa kind of, this kind of electronic reggae, let's say. Again, out of filtering. This bass might be from a Mini Brute recording. I still have it, it's in a box somewhere. The idea of the Unlock It title, there's these different realms, okay, it's kind of a very trippy song with all these wah sounds. And then there's the triplets part in the beginning, and the two come back again. And then the reggae, and then this more like kind of dance, this thing. So like there's different kind of realms, bubbles. That's another thing I loved. I think this must be around 70 BPM. I had just found out that there's this really cool thing. You can do a slow reggae at 70 BPM and then do the fast double tempo 140 BPM. This, by the way, comes from sort of Brazilian rhythm, sort of baião. It has that pa 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 tak 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 tak. That's the same kind of rhythm you hear in a reggaeton, right? Chip chap chip chap chip. It's just it's split differently here between kick and snare. But it's this very, let's say, Caribbean, South American rhythm. And then reverb for the transitions. I love doing that. Whenever there's a transition, just turn on the reverb. I used a lot the Tal dub reverb, I think. It's fucking great, man. Sounds amazing. And the snares and the percussion. And these are dundumba. Some samples I found of dundumba, the African drum. Pa, boom, pa, boom, boom, pa, boom, boom, pa, boom, boom, pa. The album, I think you can already see. That's one thing about my music. I do like to do electronic music. I do not care about making dance music. When people hear electronic music, they think dancing. That's not necessarily the case, right? I love my Aphex Twin, Square Pusher. I do like house, techno, the stuff, but it's also something I may appreciate listening to sometimes, not producing. Freedom. Okay, this track was instead inspired more from like Pink Floyd, Air, this French band that made a beautiful album, Moon Landing, Moonrise, I'm not sure. So this sample, it's a tambourine, a small Brazilian drum used in samba. They use with the virada. This sample is a tambourine that does a sort of telecotecory, tac 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 tac, with a lot of delay and flanger. And then here there's percussion, a lot of filter with the transient mapped to the frequency of the filter to make this wah effect. I love that. Okay, I went crazy here. The digital effects. I have no idea what I did here. I think this was one of the first tracks in the album that I produced. They're all, by the way, a collection. All of these are a collection of tracks I made in the years prior. And the whole idea for me of making an album here was just to get out the music. Now it starts. Well, I am very proud of this guitar solo. It's very simple, like technically speaking, but boom, boom. This guitar here, which I had bought in 2016, was my first single coil guitar. I really experimented in those years with this. I love the single coil sound. for this type of music, right? One mistake for sure I did in this album was to not hire a professional mixer. I guess you can hear the guitar, it gets kind of covered by the drums, which are cool. I like the drums, but it's just, they don't merge well together. This is my beautiful voice. Yeah, freedom. My idea was then to have another piece here that's more like Rage Against the Machine. Again with Mini Brute, this bass I remember very well. It's the Mini Brute. And now again all the parts are together, so there's the tambourine from the beginning, the drums, the guitar solo, the voice, and the Mini Brute. I guess I have this problem. I like to eventually bring everything in together. It gets kind of messy. This is a Supahsample, and the reason why it's called Supahsample, because I think I had one sample. I used it for various stuff, for the bass that's yet to come, kind of a dark techno vibe. So this, I slow down. I really like doing that, taking a sample and slowing it down and making the bass sounds out of that. In some way this song is the one that came out best, in the sense that it's not overly complicated. I have a tendency to overcomplicate things. Here I managed to keep it simple. This is the most streamlined track of the album for sure. In fact, I remember being worried it was too simple. Beep, beep, beep. This beep, pop. This is a sample from Agogo. I used to play a lot of Brazilian and African drums, so I was kind of obsessed, right, with percussions. So this djembe, I think I recorded myself playing probably with the SM57. I also have a condenser mic, but I always preferred this in the end. Oh, this is a Repinik, also me playing. Samba Afro rhythm. And the title Una Nera, it's in Italian, means a black one. Okay, I'm thinking of Africa vibes. This is really inspired from Samba Afro. If you're interested in the sort of rhythm, you should listen to Ilea Ye. This rhythm, pop 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 pop. This comes from I think Cesar Veloso. I was at a seminar from him. He used to be the director, I think, of Male de Balle, and a Samba Afro. He made us do this in the Repinik. Really cool rhythm. That sample, Glass That Breaks. That's kind of where the title of the album came from. My wife made me notice that I really overused the glass sample. And the reason why I like it is from that Prodigy song that I loved as a teenager. I think at some point it was also stretched in time. I completely forgot about this track, I'll be honest. It's pretty cool, pretty original. Okay, here, like on a purely emotional point of view, I don't like, the bass is so aggressive, but these these sounds are kind of silly almost. It doesn't blend, I think. I had to put in a Afro break. Huh? Okay, Gira il Mondo, which means the world goes round. This rhythm, I remember it very well because I loved the sound of it. I made it on a Volca beat, sampling on these small groove boxes from Korg. The snare, you hear how dry it is. That's the Brazilian caixa snare. Yeah, true, I had it in my mind when I made the song that I wanted to do a really kind of reggaeton beat. I don't think I managed, but that's why I put the Vuvuzela on, because I was trying to do a reggaeton song. So here, because the lyrics are silly and I was kind of embarrassed, in the first verse I put them all in reverse, so you can't really tell what the fuck I'm singing. But then in the second verse, they are straight. It's in Italian though anyway, so. And this bass, I actually repaired the bass. I had bought a Harley Benton bass from Thomann for cheap, 130 euros or something, and I kind of learned to play a bit. I used to listen This point to a lot of dubstep, jungle, always with reggae roots. I loved all the variations that came out of dub, the more electronic ones, you know. I don't even know the names because it's always so confusing to me. Genre in electronic music, there's too many names. So these kind of space sounds that come out of space and so on are inspired from that genre. To be honest, I kind of like the lyrics, but yeah, they're a bit vulgar and direct for non-Italian speakers. It's about just, you know, letting it go and being unapologetically more manly, you know, more machist, because there's a lot of repression towards masculinity in today's society, and I kind of was discovering in the spirit, like, okay, that's all bullshit. I have a stronger masculine energy, you know, and I live better when I live with it. So it's yeah, about that. Oh, and this, well, this is a bit different vibe, right? So Bach is one of my favorite musicians of all time for a series of reasons. Okay, because it comes before Romanticism. Okay, that's the main thing about Bach that I love. It's abstract music. You know, there's no me in Bach, you know. It's like geometry, you know. It's abstract, something beautiful, and it's made for God, right? It's made for a spiritual thing. And one of my favorite pieces is the Prelude number 2 from the Well-Tempered Clavier. I especially like the interpretation from Glenn Gould. I suggest you would listen to that. And here I took that notes, I found the MIDI notes, and I just put them through a synth. There's a bit of, in the beginning I made some copy-paste, I'm not sure why. I prolonged the initial part because I really like the sound of the bass. So here I put the left hand on one synth and the right hand on the other synth. Enjoy. Not my music, I mean I just configured the synths. And this, by the way, obviously was inspired from Mechanical Orange, the movie, the soundtrack of the movie, right? Forgot her name, Wendy something, was this woman that had this idea of doing the 9th Symphony of Beethoven on synthesizers. And it sounds amazing, so I kind of copied that idea, but with Bach. The other thing I love about Bach is that, as you notice, I love rhythm, I love percussions, and Bach, there's no percussions in Bach, but it's most rhythmic music ever. It's amazing. It's yeah, metal bands should cover Bach to sound fucking cool. Okay, so that was my first album, Breaking Glass and Other Mountain Adventures. I explained why Breaking Glass, Mountain Adventures. It's well, because I had just been to Kyrgyzstan. It was my first time I had been in Kyrgyzstan in September 2019. I released the album 1 month after that, October 2020, and there's a lot of mountains in Kyrgyzstan, right? So I had that on my mind. Also, the picture on the album cover comes from the Fairy Tale Canyon. That's a place on the Issyk Lake, which is this beautiful salty lake in Kyrgyzstan, which is a beautiful country, and you should visit. All right, that was 2019. Move on to 2020. In and Mostly Out. Yeah, quite different album, way more dark, you can tell straight away from the cover. A series of events happened in 2015, 2016 that I needed a few years to digest. Then I met my wife in 2018. From there, my life started improving. I felt I was kind of getting out of this. So I felt, you know what, now I can kind of look back on it. There's this interview of Brian Eno, where he says that in the periods of his life where he was living in a noisy city, he made the most silent music he ever made. Whereas when he was living out in the country, which was a very silent place, he made the most noisy music. I think something similar happened here. Like, I couldn't really make dark music until I was in a dark moment in my life. But then once I went over it, you know, I can finally use this. The idea of the album, I wanted to kind of make a journey, trauma, right? So you live through some trauma, process it, and hopefully come out with more wisdom. Lost in a self-replicating nightmare. Trauma. This album, a lot of this album was done with this beautiful device, Electron Digitech. Tons of fun. Here comes the jungle. I left aside the reggae. If I had the King Tabby on the back of my mind for the previous album, this album, in the back of my mind was always Aphex Twin, 100%. That was what I was trying to do. Of course, it's really hard. And this is the lock all, where you can like change the pitch, all the samples all at once, and then undo the change and it gets back to the groove. And this was the repeat, where you can shorten just temporarily the length of a pattern, like from 16 steps, make it 2, and then back again 16. It's an amazing device, the Digitech. Out of the 6 tracks, 4 were completely done on the Digitech. So this and the other ones are live performance on the Digitech. Like, of course I practiced it before a lot, but then in the end I said, you know what, I have enough patterns, enough stuff, I'll just press record and do it live. And so in that way also it's very different than the previous album, right? This is all out of the Digitech. I think there was very little post-processing. I got used to playing there on the Digitech, like the idea of going back and editing on the PC was sounded like, nah. What did I do here? I guess it's half tempo. But yeah, I think Self-Replicating Nightmare, Lost in a Self-Replicating Nightmare is a good title for this track. I wanted to give that sense of dread, of some spiral, you know, that never ends. It gets darker and darker, and you get lost, and you're disoriented, confused, dazed, right? You don't know where you are, where you're going. Here it comes. Pain and disgust eating my guts. Yeah, another raw like title. And I completely forgot what's gonna happen on this track, to be honest. I remember these sounds, but some of these sounds, they come from these small synths from Teenage Engineering, like Pocket, something they're called Pocket. They had the sampler one, maybe the drum synths one. And the sample one was really cool because you could record your voice and then do all sorts of sequencing. So some of the sequences I think I did on the Teenage box, and then I recorded them on the Digitech. By the way, this was before the Digitech updates. You didn't have slice or repage, all that stuff. Okay, now I remember. Yeah, the point of this track is to wanna make you vomit. That was my idea. This bass, there's something annoying about it. It goes straight to my guts, and it's kind of like, you know, when you're seasick, and not the whole album is like this. These are the first 2 tracks. Are supposed to be painful. It gets better, and nausea feeling. I mean, you can feel compared to the first album, this in some ways much more basic music, but it's also more. I would say it's more emotional, and I was obviously experimenting with something new and that I wasn't as good at. Oh, this is quite good. But it's the same trick I think I did before, right, in the first track. I forgot how I did this. I guess the Digitech might be more fun to play than to listen back to. But I mean, you can hear their live performances. They lack the care and details, you know, that you can get when you put everything in the door, you know, and spend 2 weeks on like every small detail, all the translations and stuff. This is live. The amount of stuff that changes is much more limited. The positive is that it sounds coherent, right? When I work in the DAW, I always had trouble staying coherent in the song and not changing genre, right? This is more coherent, but it's also more boring, I have to say. Though it does fit the title. I mean, it delivers what it promises. Pain and disgust eating my guts. I mean, that's a pretty good soundtrack, you know, if you have that sort of experience. It's relentless. Okay, this song is actually a collaboration with a friend of mine, Antonio, who goes by the name of Io. He sent me a short improvised, I think he does a lot of improvisation. I think it was just guitar and voice, and I kind of chopped it up. Yeah, I made this track. Sentirmi le palle, which means feel my balls. His lyrics are Sentirmi la pelle, which means feel my skin. But I changed it to feel my balls. I mean, he still says feel my skin in the lyrics, but I like the play on words, and it fits. This is his voice. All the others are like high-pitched or something. He's saying, I didn't believe in anything. I loved this. This is the transition point in the album, right? I wasn't believing in anything. I was like a nihilist, right? And being eaten alive by pain and disgust, right? Nightmares. And there comes this moment of realization, right? And this is the door that opens, right? Like, hey, maybe there's other in life. He says, I want you so much as to feel your skin. So feel my skin. This, I realized, this could have been evolved into its own song, its own kind of house song, but I didn't want to do that. I don't know. So I ended it here. I think it didn't fit the album. I wanted to keep the theme. So now, after the realization, right, this is actually using the same samples as Pain and Disgust Eating My Guts, but it's called Part 2, Nuoto Pirano. So I swim to Pirano. Pirano is a city in front of Trieste. It's like 12 nautical miles away, so it's also close. But the idea is, okay, you know what, I had this moment of, I saw the door open, I saw there was something, no, let's swim there, let's go there. And I loved the idea of using the same sounds of the annoying song, right, Eating My Guts. It's not happy still, I want to say it's a happy song, but there's a bit more drive to it. This is the grind. And these sounds, the reason why I came up with the analogy of swimming was because these sounds are kind of aquatic. It reminded me of swimming. Take your head out for air and some water goes over your face. The sound of breathing through a tube. This sample where I'm saying actually Pirano, it's, I remember very well, it's my voice through this teenage engineering pocket sampler and then processed. I think I was at a bar with my wife and I was playing around with this, and the first thing that came to mind was Vada Pirano. I mean, it's amazing you can do all of this with the Digitech, all of this live sequencing and mangling of sound, but I'm not sure my music is, I mean, I think you can see an evolution in the music, but I'm not sure it's a good evolution. Let's say that. I think it was a bit rushed, this album. I was a bit in a hurry. I was kind of pushing myself to just get this out there. And there were some tracks that I really liked, but others I wasn't so sure about. Won't Go Down Without a Fight. Okay, so this probably is the best track I would say of the album. And this, not Digitech. You see, this was made on Bitwig fully. There is some guitar in it, so also the sounds are more varied. A lot of the drum stuff I did with the Renoise Redux VST plugin, so it's like a tracker. So I kind of kept that vibe, right, of mangling stuff, because the Digitech is very similar to a tracker workflow. Just the interface is different, but the ideas are very similar, right? And the idea, right, is this is the like energy. It's like, okay, we definitely are out of the trauma. We did the first step, which was the hardest. We have to keep fighting when we face difficulties, right? When people try to push us down. That happened to me a lot of those years. That I was trying to change, and people would confront me like, "What's wrong with you, man? Can't you? Why are you trying to change? You know, why are you trying to improve your own life? Are you crazy?" This kind of crab mentality of people pulling you down, right? That's the song that ideally helps you push through that. And this, I used to have the Cold Mini, I think. One of these, it's very old, like from the 80s synthesizer, has a horrible interface. That's why I sold it. But the sounds are really cool. And it had a vocoder, a microphone built in and a vocoder. That's me saying no morire, it means don't die. And then, and these, it's again all sequenced in this of that Renoise Redux VST. What I loved about it is that you can code a pattern with it, right? And then you can code many patterns, right? Many different patterns, the same sounds. And you have it in a mode where you will send it to one MIDI note, and it will start playing that pattern. You send another MIDI note and it starts playing the next pattern. So then you can kind of play the patterns, you know? You can make a meta sequence, like make a sequence of patterns. Okay, and then finally, Dreamt of My Forgotten Beach. This is the happy song. This is when you arrive, maybe dreaming of the beach ride. And the title is kind of inspired from this song of Franco Battiato, who was an Italian songwriter. It has a very nice song that I loved, was A Solitary Beach Ride, about spending the summer on some solitary beach. It was kind of inspired from that. And it's supposed to be a happy song about the destination, right, about finally arriving there. And musically, I used a lot of arpeggiators, and it was very, by the way, also this, not Digitech, was done in the DAW Bitwig. I was trying to imitate sounds of Philip Glass. I loved the Glassworks album. I listened to that a lot. He doesn't use I assume, I never actually looked into it. He's a classic music composer, right? So I'm assuming he writes the music, gives it to musicians, they play it. But if you listen to it, it's like freaking, at least on that album, it's like arpeggiators. This. And then at some point I switch from triplets to octaves. This is 100% copied from Philip Glass. You have to listen to that album if you haven't. That and the Kuya Niskatsi soundtrack. Amazing. I think this, in this case, even the sound was copied from Philip Glass. I'm not sure. But yeah, I love this play on the rhythm. It's another take on the Bach. Bach is very rhythmic, but it's regular, right? It's like a regular grid. The rhythm comes out of the relentlessness of it, right? Staying on this grid. This, and I think Philip Glass, in some way is similar, but it's not so fixed on a specific grid necessarily of 16th notes. And then the synth is very, very beachy, like tropical beach, right? Meow, 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 meow. The theme that is about to come now. I recorded it on, how is it called this? Harmonica, this like kind of small piano keyboard where you blow air in. No, not yet. Still playing with the arpeggiator, I guess. Not yet. I really delayed it. I remember making this listen to. There was a group in Nuremberg. I was living in Nuremberg at the time. There was a group of producers that met like weekly, and I made them listen to this track. And I remember there were people, but usually people there share the techno, house, and all this stuff. And I came with this track, and there were people looking at their watch. How long is it going on? And I realized, okay, maybe it's a bit too long. I'm not sure I shortened it afterwards. I might have added more variations. I think this whole album goes on a bit too long. You know, I should have done it like Bad Religion instead of doing, 5-6 minutes, throw down 2 or 3. But yeah, that wraps it up. What would I do differently? I would, as I said, probably hire a pro mixer. I didn't want to, especially in the second album, I didn't want to because I had this idea of like, no, I want to be like Aphex Twin, right? The sound is too weird. I'll never find a mixer that is will do it properly like the way I do, which I guess to some degree is true. But I could have at least tried, put some money. And on Fiverr.com you can find it for pretty cheap. I could have invested 100-200 euros in giving these tracks to someone and trying to work with them, right, to make them sound good. I guess a good sound engineer, there's also that aspect, right, that communicates, right, with the client, with what they're looking for. Because, yeah, it's silly. It could have sounded so much better. After this, 2020, I stopped making music for a long time. So December 2020 or January 2021, and that might, by the way, might be the reason why I rushed this album. I was looking for a business idea for a while. At that time, I had tried different things, and I came up with this idea to make an app for musicians, a social app to share music. Right. My idea was that you could it was all based on sample based, and that you could overdub each other. So like that, I would share a drum sample and someone would overdub some guitar on that. It was called a riff on that. I worked on that, I would say, relentlessly for about a year, and then I needed money, so then I found a job, and yeah, that's history now. Nowadays, I don't really prioritize music so much, but I do have 2 small kids, and I think when they grow up, I like to a bit teach them, but it's not so much about teaching, it's about playing. For me, music is always has to be something fun, right? It's about playing. That's the part I like, the interaction, the creativity, the playfulness of it, right? So thanks for watching, and remember to click subscribe and be my 3rd subscriber. It will be a great honor to have 3 or 4 subscribers. So yeah, see you on the next one. Bye bye.